Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Talking Ball, y'all. This Sunday, September 28th, we just finished week 4 of the LHSAA football season. I'm Cass Hargis, that's Jason Dewey and Lance Lacoste. Welcome to the show. We're going to recap an exciting week 4. I think we had some big-time matchups that lived up to the billing. We're starting to see some districts start their district schedule. So we're getting some results and start to kind of paint a picture for what the season's going to look like. What's going on, fellas?
Nothing, man. Just a good weekend of football. We both got to cover a pair of games
Yeah,
and
that's right.
see. I mean, right, Lance? I would say one of
Yep.
the best teams we've ever witnessed in Louisiana football history. I would say is the mildest way to
Yep.
put it.
Yeah, it was cool to see Carr in person for the first time this year. They're everything that you'd think they are, or everything, whatever you've heard, they're better. And then I got to see Coach Aaron Weiss's first victory as a Newman Greeny head football coach Friday night as well. So cool weekend.
Yeah, dude, I tell you, VSN had some big time games this weekend. They had the Catholic West Monroe game on Friday. They had STM Neville also on Friday, Shaw LCA, and then obviously Carr Holy Cross game on Saturday, and then the Newman game for Coach Weiss's first victory on Friday night. Shameless plug: if you're a high school football fan and you don't have a subscription to VSN, you might need to change that because that is a very, very cool thing to be able to sit at home on a Friday and watch the games live, or go to a game on Friday night and then watch it on demand after that. All right, let's get this thing started. Up in North Louisiana, we if you watched the show on Tuesday, kind of previewed this game a little bit, and I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but we did say that it was going to be high scoring, and that's exactly what happened. Evangel outlast Airline 51-49, another District 1 5A game that turns into a track meet.
It looks like everything that could happen in a football game happened in this football game. So Pop Houston, the LSU commit, threw 3 interceptions, but also threw three touchdowns. So it's pretty rare when you can throw 3 interceptions and still come away with a victory, but also threw for over 400 yards. Big games from the receivers, of course, when you're throwing for that many yards, but they had everything from bad snaps on special teams for safeties to interceptions to a 99-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So it seemed like everything that could happen in a football game might have happened up there in Shreveport.
Yeah, no,
Except for 3 and outs. No 3 and outs.
Yeah, no 3 and outs.
not in that district, man. Not in that district. Look, really fun ball game, explosive offenses. And Kenny Darby was even getting some touches in the backfield, which is the number 1 receiver in the state, LSU commit, which, as Lance mentioned, was fumbled actually on the 1-yard line. And, you know, it's unfortunate when mistakes like that happen, but a great job by Evangel to capitalize. I think when you reflect on the way their season transpired a year ago and how they definitely weren't satisfied with the result. I believe they were 6-6 on the year. Unlike whatever their record was specifically, was unlike a typical Evangel year. And them coming out this year early, I believe Houston has like 1,500 yards already on the year. I mean, it's just insanity. He is as advertised. He's been an incredible talent at quarterback, but look, man, he's got some help as well at the receiver position, and his guys are doing a solid job on the outside as well. But that unit is definitely one of the top 3, 4, 5 passing units in the entire state for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And they week 1, they drop a close one to Neville, and it's only like they've gotten better from there. And kind of lost in all of this, people may forget about it, but Airline went undefeated last year.
Yeah.
They were 10-0. I think they lost in the second round of the playoffs. They got upset, but they had a 12-game regular season win streak that was snapped. And it's, they haven't made that deep postseason run, it seems like, in a while, so you maybe kind of forget about them. But, man, Chase Williams, their quarterback, like you said, mentioned Kenny Darby throwing to those guys. It's an explosive, fun to watch offense. And, their MO is trying to outscore people. They just weren't able to do it here against Evangel. So we go from a 51-49 game in North Louisiana to a 21-19 game in New Orleans. We had Coach Jeff Curtis on from John Curtis on Tuesday to preview this game, but John Curtis beats Rummel 21-19. And I think we kind of thought how this would play out and went kind of exactly the way you thought it would. Defense, running the football, long drives. Curtis held the ball for 11 minutes and 45 seconds and didn't score to end the game. So Rummel scored to start the fourth quarter, and then Curtis didn't let him get the football back. A really, really good game at the Shrine on Airline.
Yeah, heck of a transition from the Shreveport game to this one, but this is obviously what we're much more used to down here in the Catholic League. What I loved about this football game is London Padgett, Gavin Ledette, two kids that I've known since they were in junior high. They kind of grew up training at one of my facilities. So to see those guys really be leaders for this Curtis team is really cool. I know Jacoby Boudreaux, he's really kind of more of like the superstar that everybody's heard about early in the season from Curtis, but and he did have a pretty good night, still had a touchdown, but Gavin Ledette really came up big with 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. London Padgett ran it well. London's able to throw it. So, anytime that Curtis is able to throw the football, that makes him so much more multidimensional instead of just, and really keeping defenses honest, And so it's really cool to see those guys get a win. The Rummel side, Cass, I think you said it, like they got to stop wearing the blue pants. I think that's what it comes down to. I think if my recommendation for Rummel, stick to the red. I think these teams are, I think you don't look as tough in blue. So
that is it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That could be the secret.
So, I know.
But seriously, Rummel played them really tough. To hold these guys at 21 points, this is always a really physical rivalry that has been building over the last couple of years in Metairie.
But when talking about this offense, so we've talked over and over about how, and even I joked with Coach Jeff last week. I said, you guys run 2 plays, but how many plays do you actually need when you run veer option that well? You don't need a ton of plays in the back pocket, but really that's what people know them for. But when I think Curtis, I think defense, right? Rummel only had 168 total yards this past week. That's the big difference. They scored off of a fumble return for a touchdown. But really, Curtis's defense flies to the football. They play really well. And we know that this Rummel team likes to control the ground. They play off of play action. They have 2 really talented backs. And obviously, when you look at the game plan that Curtis had coming in, they perfected it.
Yeah, and when we talked to Coach Curtis on Tuesday, we talked about the offense and how explosive they were. They were averaging over 500 yards rushing in their 2 games up to that point. They had 3 guys that were averaging over 100 yards rushing per game. I think there was 11 guys or 7 guys that averaged double 10 or more yards per carry. So the offense was extremely explosive, and it was kind of revolving around Jacoby Boudreaux. Until Friday, London Padgett had thrown 3 passes. He was 2 for 3 on the season. They get into a tight game at Rummel, and you have to ask him to now go 6 for 8 passing, 90 yards, and he throws a touchdown. If they're able to do that, Lance, like you said, and throw the football, not a lot, but efficiently and successfully, they're going to be really, really tough to stop, because that offense is not only can they hold the football, but they can also be very explosive too. So Curtis is going to be a team, if they can continue to play defense like they have been too. I know y'all saw Carl on Saturday. We could talk about later on, but it might be someone that could challenge him just with the style of play. So that'll be interesting to see. In Baton Rouge, there was a clash of 2 of the premier programs traditionally in the state of Louisiana, in Catholic and West Monroe. West Monroe wins 27-24. They scored a touchdown with 8 seconds left. West Monroe, Catholic kicked the field goal to go up 24-20 with about 6 minutes left. West Monroe goes on the final drive. They were facing a 4th and 5 from the Catholic 10-yard line on the second to last play of the game. Quarterback Brady Gilliott scrambled for the first down, and on the next play throws a touchdown pass for West Monroe to win the game. This is a huge win for West Monroe, not just because they beat Catholic, but they're coming off the loss to North DeSoto last week. Coach Deiser, taking over the program. I think West Monroe, we talked about them being back. This is just another sign that they're closer than what maybe people thought they were before the season.
Yeah, I think one thing for sure, both of these teams are battle-tested early in the season. Every week we're talking about a great matchup between these 2 teams and another great opponent. So these 2 teams are going to be very battle-tested when they get to the playoffs. West Monroe, it seems like there's a lot of positive energy back in that program. Maybe hadn't been that way the last couple of years. And so, yeah, Coach Dyes is really turning things around. I know I sent you guys a Facebook post just recently where there was a post about Coach Dyser being at the junior high games more than any coach that really has ever been at West Monroe. And so he's back in the community, making sure he's keeping his West Monroe talent there and building great relationships. And so yeah, it seems like Coach Dyser's really got this thing headed in the right direction. Couple any Tulane fans that are listening, there's a couple commits on that West Monroe team that you can look for. Tylen George, the guard, 6'3", 318, as well as Trez Davis, the wide receiver, possible cornerback at Tulane. But yeah, this is a heck of a win for West Monroe, like you said, coming off of probably a somewhat disappointing loss from last week, where anytime they lose a game in that area, it's almost embarrassing because they're supposed to be the big dog of the area. And so for them to get it done against Catholic, who obviously has a great reputation at this point from their previous success just the last few years. And so yeah, great stuff for West Monroe and Coach Dyser.
Yeah, and Kedry McNeil, the running back on that team, he returned it was like a 98-yard kickoff as well in that game. So special teams even kind of coming through.
Yep. But
when you talk about overcoming yourself, because last week they came back in that ball game, they had a touchdown to go up. It was to go up 35-17, I want to say, and they got taken off the board due to penalty, and the game spiraled. You gave them 22 unanswered points. Could have very easily come into this game moping, not really thrilled with the way you played, but to come out the way that they did is really impressive. And to Lance's point, Tylen George is a really fun player to watch on the offensive line. But this offensive line they're big, but they are fast. When you in a guy in Coach Dyser who was basically everything for this program in his tenure there. He was a special teams coordinator. He did strength and conditioning. He coached. He did everything. So kind of speaks to the job that he did as well. When you got these offensive linemen running at the speed that they are, their playmakers are making plays. Christian Ponte, the running back, has been excellent, as well as McNeil. This is a team you got to be worried about. I think it's very easy to overlook them because of their recent past, but there's a reason why they're a staple in Louisiana football. And there's a reason why we've said over and over, the state is better when they are a good football team. And I think you're seeing that this year. Yeah,
no doubt. And, the regular season that they had last year was, disappointing by their standards. They made it to the quarterfinals, and they lost to the eventual state champ in Central. So it's a team with the guys that are returning. They have experience playing deep in the playoffs. It seems like Coach Dyser's got that program energized. And, we talked on Tuesday, Jason, about how this week for North DeSoto was huge after the win, maybe just as big for West Monroe after that loss, to bounce back and beat a team like Catholic. Down the way on I-10 in the Lafayette area, we had Cecilia and Central, a battle of two state champions from last year. Central, the Division I non-select state champ. Cecilia, the Division II non-select state champ. Central goes on to win and stay undefeated. They win 39-21. I think the Central team, I guess maybe you always worry about what is it going to be like the year after you win it all. They haven't done it since the early 60s. They have the one special season. They make the run to the Dome. They win the state championship. They haven't slowed down. They've been extremely consistent to start this season. On the flip side for Cecilia, you lose your head coach. You lose some playmakers off of a state championship team. They're kind of going through some battles right now, but it's really not unlike last year. They started off the season the same way. They gave up a lot of points. They scored a lot of points. They got into the playoffs and make a run. So maybe they can do that again. But Central's been maybe under the radar, but very impressive this season.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. They're 4-0. Haven't really talked a whole lot about them. But anytime you can go on the road and beat a state champ, that's a big win, even when it's against a smaller program. But yeah, I think you had some good points there where, coming off of a great season, it can be tough to keep guys focused. It can be tough in the offseason to really stay hungry and remind athletes of like, hey, we won a state championship, and we did it because it was really hard, and we put a lot of great work in last offseason. How do we stay hungry this offseason? And so, even now when you're at 4-0, you gotta it's going to continue to be a challenge week to week as their schedule continues to get tougher and tougher. I know their toughest opponents are still ahead of them. So, just keeping those guys grounded and not getting overconfident in their locker room, I'm sure is somewhat of a challenge right now at Central. But, yeah, they're off to another great start.
Last year when you go back and rewind the clock, they got off to a little bit of what you would consider a slow start. It was a close game against LHSAA. It wasn't, when everybody thinks back, they're going to think, and rightfully so, you're going to think back to the most recent data point, which is the Superdome. It was a massive win on the big stage, and that's what everybody remembers. But if you go back to the beginning of the season, they were in some tight games. They were in some close games, and they were kind of building the foundation for their team moving forward. They got a lot of new pieces this year. They got some guys who transferred in. They got, two major contributors on defense who transferred in. Quarterback Gassiot, who transferred in from Alexandria. Again, really nice day, had 200 yards on the game. But they're still kind of finding themselves. And, again, to go on the road I would say in a playoff-like environment, because Cecilia brings people. That's, a VSN affiliate. That's a program that has a lot of hype, a lot of fan support. They've only got one win to start the season, but when you look at the schedule that they've played up to this point, it's understandable. I'm not concerned about that team. I think they're going to be okay because I feel like their toughest opponents and higher classification opponents are behind them. So we'll see moving forward, but I think both teams, their best days are ahead of them. Yeah,
no doubt. That's a good point you brought up about playing at Cecilia. Just simply going on the road is tough in and of itself, but that is a town that loves Cecilia High School. And they come out on Friday nights and they support it. It's a neat place to play. Central went out there and handled their business. As you would expect a program that's state championship caliber to go and do. Speaking of programs who are state championship caliber and played in tough environments, also in the Lafayette area, Neville traveled to St. Thomas More, and this was a heck of a football game, as it seems to be every time these teams play. St. Thomas More stares down their second straight double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter, and for the second straight week, they find a way to win. They win 27-23. They recovered an onside kick with about 2.5 minutes left to get the football back to go down and score. Cole Bergeron, quarterback, Virginia Tech commit, he has been on fire for that offense, directing that offense. It's an offense it's wide open, it's fast-paced. The ball gets distributed quickly. It's in and out of quarterback's hands, and you need your quarterback to know, it's exactly where he's going with the football. And Bergeron's done a great job, but he threw for 339 yards and 4 touchdowns. They got the running game going a little bit too with Owen Bailey and Carter Melanson. Tough back-to-back weeks for Neville. They go to Mississippi last week and get beat by Oak Grove. Kind of, ran it right at them. They couldn't stop it. This week, they get a 16-0 lead on St. Thomas More. They're up by 12 in the fourth quarter, and you look up at the end of the game, and it's the second straight loss.
It's similar to the Catholic West Monroe game. I feel like these teams are playing a serious early schedule every week. They're playing against somebody really tough. So, that 2-2 record on both sides, I think, is a little deceiving. These teams are probably not going to lose many more games as their easiest opponents are ahead of them. But Cole Bergeron threw 21 of 21. Is that something we need to fact check, or is that a real stat? He was 21 for 21.
That's probably slightly off. You can blame. Okay. You can probably blame the statistician on that one.
I saw that one. If he went 21 for 21, that would be unbelievable.
That's a 99. I'll put it this way. That's a 99.9% chance that is a wrong stat. So I apologize on that. Again, please realize, people who are watching, this is all in-house. Okay, we don't have anybody stat checking all the graphics. That's why I just had to fix the graphic. This is all done in-house, so we're working on
our best. But they had
we'll say it's correct.
Where St. Thomas More really won this game was on fourth downs. They were 6 of 8 on fourth downs. That's a lot of fourth downs to go first off.
Yeah, that's in the thing, and I was there. So and there was very, very little conversations about when we were going to punt. It was if we were going to punt, we had to run the punt team on late in the play clock because we're just going to keep going for it. It's aggressive, but I mean, when you're putting the pressure on the defense and it working, then it's rolling. But I think this speaks to not that Neville's not this program, but when you're at a level of someone like Catholic, someone like St. Thomas More, you just expect to win. And it doesn't matter if you're down by 10 in the fourth quarter, 2 weeks in a row against two really good football teams. You just keep playing, and you just play the next play, and you expect to win. And it's almost not surprising when you do. And that's, I think, the last 2 weeks have shown that for STM.
St. Thomas More is probably like, can we just please get a nice, calm, collected game? Every game, it's either they're up big and they have a comeback, or they're down late and they have to come back. Like, but
they've recovered 2 onside kicks back-to-back weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, this just goes again. That goes to preparation and practice. I know Lance knows about special teams. We talk about that all the time. I played for Frank Monica, so you know I'm all about the special teams game. But 10% of the game that can make a drastic difference. A team that blocks a punt, and again, Coach Monica might get on me if he hears it and I can say it wrong. But if a team blocks a punt, they have a 69% chance of winning that game. Okay, that happened in the game we watched, Lance.
It's another stat.
I mean, there you go. So look, it's special teams is so important in the game of football, and whether it's recovering an onside kick, but St. Thomas More staying even, not getting too high, not getting too up. You're down by 16 points. You're up. You're up big. It doesn't matter. They are a consistent program, and that's why they remain who they are. As for Neville, the schedule doesn't get any easier, right? So it's about making sure you're consistent and not letting any of these early losses against two really good ball clubs get the better of you.
Yeah, and that Neville's a program too that they're in that same category. They haven't won the state championships maybe as of late, but they're they expect to win too, and they're going to be there at the end of the season. Seems like Parker Robinson's healthy now. He played really well. Zealand Young had 12 catches for 172 yards. They're going to run the football. Neville's going to be able to run the football. But if Parker Robinson can stay healthy as their quarterback and they can continue to be explosive in a passing game, yes, that district's a gauntlet. But, Neville's pretty dang good. So that's going to be, if they can handle these last 2 weeks and just continue to get better and get better, they're going to be just fine. These are other two teams. Lance, you mentioned Catholic and West Monroe. They play in these dynamite schedules. LCA and Shaw has done the same. Seems like we talked about them every week. Shaw wins 31-13. Shaw created 7 turnovers, 6 interceptions. I think for LCA, I don't think my opinion has changed on them. I still think they're one of the better football teams in Louisiana. But when you play the schedule they have, just simply without the numbers of the teams they're playing against, it was almost like they were due for a performance like this. And then on the flip side for Shaw, I think we always thought that they were a good football team. They just ran into Carr and they ran into Rummel. So I don't know that this result changes the opinions of these teams, but it is good to see Shaw play well and get a victory here early in the season.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Shaw's early schedule. Like they have gotten better from week to week, and then they go pull off this upset. But so this game was shocking because LCA beats Rummel, Rummel smokes Shaw, and then Shaw beats LCA. It doesn't really add up. But if you know the coaching staff at Shaw with Coach Tierney, Coach Adam Giglio, who's definitely one of the best defense coordinators in the area, his defense forces 7 turnovers and really just never let Braylon Walker get loose. He had to have a great game plan for Braylon Walker. We heard Coach Monica talk about this kid just a couple of weeks ago. So for Braylon Walker to only run for 88 yards, only throw for 167 yards. I mean, I know that's a pretty good night for most quarterbacks, but for him, that's a slow night, and obviously forced him to make some bad throws as well. So I think this is just a huge credit to Shaw's coaching staff and their early battles that they seem to just have learned and really have gotten better from.
And a big night for Shaw running back DeAndre Franklin, 91 yards, 3 touchdowns on the game, and that's the kind of game you got to play against LCA as well. You want to run your offense and you want to make sure you're able to run the football, which is not an easy task because they're so explosive offensively, because they can do so many things. You want to negate their opportunities offensively, but it seemed like they were at home defensively. 6 interceptions against this offense is really an impressive effort, a brilliant game plan put together to make them feel uncomfortable, to make them in a position where I don't believe they've really been in all year. it was a tight game against Rummel, but really, again, you don't see them in these types of games. You haven't seen them in these types of moments all year. So for them to make LCA feel uncomfortable offensively and to force that many mistakes, it tells you a lot about Shaw moving forward. They still have some tough games ahead of them. They still have to play. We're going to keep saying it, but Bell Chase, St. Charles is still on their schedule. But this is a really nice win for them as they look forward to De La Salle next week.
Yeah, and the staff that they have there just to navigate the first 3 weeks and then to come out and have a performance like this. Lance, the reason they got 7 turnovers is because Coach Giglio doesn't waste his time reading our group text messages. So all he's doing is, I mean, he's locked in on a game plan. So that makes sense now. It makes total
He's getting
sense.
his fingers are on the ball instead of on his phone texting us.
That's right.
So
That's
good
right.
for him.
But
we're not worth his time.
It paid off. But yeah, to see, I mean, Braylon Walker's throwing 6 interceptions, Jason, like you said. They've been in tight games. I don't know that they've been in a game where the point spread has been more than one possession, like throughout the game. So they were never in a spot to where they had to sit back and throw it and, put all of it on Walker until this Friday night. And it just completely unraveled. The other thing I think that limited their offense was defensively. Shaw held running back Caden Bellard to only 71 yards. And as good as Braylon Walker is, if you can hold Bellard and keep him in check and make everything go through Braylon Walker to put that pressure on him, then you have a chance to create mistakes. And that's exactly what happened. So big win for Shaw. I think LCA is going to be just fine. They've had a brutal schedule. Their easier games are in front of them. They are going to be just fine.
They do have a tough district now. I mean, it's not going to be a cakewalk from here on out, but still, to your point, they've played a lot of tough teams, but still ahead. I mean, they've that district that they're in. They do still have Lafayette Renaissance, which is a team that's kind of been a sleeper, but they're
literally across the street from each other.
Yeah,
those 2 schools are right across the street. Yep.
That Notre Dame game should be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, speaking of Notre Dame, that's where we'll go next. Notre Dame beats Catholic New Iberia 35-34. Just your regular old run-of-the-mill 35-34 game. Notre Dame was losing 28-0 at halftime.
Oh, wow.
You're losing 28-0 at halftime. Catholic New Iberia scored to end the game and went for 2 and didn't get it. They went for 2 in the win, did not get it. A huge comeback in overtime for Notre Dame. And this program under Coach Lou Cook, that's they're consistent. They win. By their standard, didn't have a great year last year. It seems that they've completely flipped the script, and they're back to what they're accustomed to doing.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I know is that this Catholic New Iberia team, I had them in the playoffs last year against Newman, and I was really impressed by how good they were. And I know it was they did not lose many players from last year, from what I remember. A lot of good skill guys, some linebackers that were really good football players. And so, I mean, when I was thinking that Catholic New Iberia defense that I watched just 10 months ago, if you're down 28-0 and somehow come back against that defense to win, man, that's an impressive win there.
Specifically that secondary, we've talked about it before, is it's on another level. It seems like anytime the ball's in the air, they're a threat to grab it and take it for 6 the other way. Really impressive offensive effort in the second half of this Notre Dame team. Bryce Duhon had a nice game, 91 yards on 6 catches for a pair of touchdowns. But when you look at this, I don't think this changes for either team. But I do remember watching some clips I haven't gotten to watch a full Notre Dame game yet, but I did watch them. I watched some clips of them playing Southside. And keep in mind, Southside's a 5A program. We've talked about they pull from a few areas. It's a big school. And just to watch the physicality of this Notre Dame team playing them, it blew me away. I think this is a team that's going to be scary to watch. And there's an emotional win at that. Coach Louis Cook said in the postgame it was one of the biggest games of his career, one of the biggest wins he's ever been a part of. And for the legend to say that himself is it speaks volumes about the effort that it took for his team to get this win against a really solid defense in Catholic New Iberia.
Yeah, it's extremely impressive because Catholic New Iberia coming off their state championship, like we know what they are. I think we know what Notre Dame is too. Just then you see it and they go down 28-0. But that secondary for Catholic New Iberia, as good as they are, like you mentioned, Bryce Duon, quarterback Drew Lejeune, like what they were able to do to create some big plays, extremely impressive. And Notre Dame, again, they're known for being physical. They're known for running the football. If they can create explosive plays in the passing game, they're just going to be that much more dangerous. They also recovered an onside kick, and I don't know if it's because the games we talk about happen to have onside kicks, but I feel like a lot of people are recovering onside kicks here lately. I don't know.
It's tough.
Why that is.
It's the hardest thing to practice. I think that's the thing, especially in the high school level. There's so much, when that ball is rolling to you, it's a really quick decision that you're asking of a 16-year-old kid to either go block or field it, and there's so many rules in like the NFL now that make it impossible to recover an onside kick. High school, it's still basically a freelance out there. You can kick it however you want, and so I think that was always a challenge. Like as a special teams coordinator, I never felt comfortable with my hands team because it's like you're not going to really practice that,
right.
And so a lot of times the first time you really do it full board is in the game.
Yeah, no, you're not going to go live and practice an onside kick and practice. And the ball's shaped funny and it bounces funny. Catholic recovered an onside kick against West Monroe. Their kicker actually slipped and fell, and it allowed the ball.
Those are the best ones.
It was perfect because the ball literally went 10 yards, and then they recovered it. Like it was great.
That just goes to show how much luck is involved, and we talk about how big it is, but like how much luck is actually involved. You can practice it and it comes out completely different. Yeah. That you get the wrong sign in because you can't, of all the special teams plays, as you mentioned, like that's the most difficult one to simulate, even when you're trying to do it well or not. Like you don't know what to expect in a game no matter what.
No, it's crazy. But again, it goes back to special teams and how important that is in winning football. But also back up in North Louisiana, North DeSoto and Northwood of Shreveport, two teams. Both of them came in undefeated. North DeSoto coming off of a huge win over West Monroe. We were interested to see how they would respond and how would they handle that week leading into the Northwood game, one of the biggest wins in their program's history last week. Can you move on and be consistent and go do it again? They proved that, at least up to this point, that they could handle it. They went to Northwood of Shreveport to win 52-26. Final score probably doesn't indicate how close the game was. They kind of pulled away late, but Coach Dennis Dunn, that program has been continuing to build. They were in the Superdome a few years ago. It looks like they have another chance to do the same thing.
Yeah, man. Anybody knows Coach Dennis Dunn? He's created a lot of winners at Evangel, Louisiana College. Everywhere he's been, he wins. So it's really not shocking to see. And again, I've said this on a couple podcasts. Like I know that there's North DeSoto athletic department is they're really serious about sports right now. They want to win. They're trying to get a trophy here. So it looks like they got the right formula so far.
Yeah, they've got the personnel to do it. I think this team they only led by 4 going into the fourth quarter, and to pull away at the end there. There's a rivalry game too. This is probably their biggest district matchup. So it's interesting to see how they look going down the stretch with maybe what feels like their biggest test behind them. So moving forward, continuing to stay motivated, understanding what's at stake. But I really like the makeup of this team. As you guys mentioned, coaching is phenomenal, really talented offense. Their defense flies the football. You took out West Monroe last week, and you come back and you don't let your highest high in the following week rolling into your lowest low. Mm-hmm. You're in a tight matchup and you pull away late in the game. Again, furthering my belief, I do think this is one of the top 2 best teams in Division 2 non-select, and it would not shock me one bit to see them sitting in the Superdome come December.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it shows the maturity of the team to be able to handle that week, and that if they can do that and they can consistently perform the way they have been, obviously with them being undefeated, they have a strong chance to be back in the Superdome. Let's go to the St. Aug Warren Easton game. This is one we talked about the Catholic League. We talked about 2-5A. I think maybe without a doubt 2 of the best league districts in the state, and it might not even really be close, top to bottom. We talked about it before we came on the show. St. Aug wins 47-22, stays undefeated. That's Warren Easton's first loss. Warren Easton was undefeated coming into the game. They're a talented team. They're a good football program. We may look up in week 9 or 10 and they may be in last place in the district. And I just think it's just because it's that tough. But Jason, I know you told me that this train for St. Aug, and I'm leading the bandwagon, may have to stay in the station next week, and that might be true. But I'm still riding with Coach Valdez and the Purple Knights, and this offense is fun to watch, huh?
I think if there's any team in the Catholic League that poses a serious threat, it's going to be next week, and we'll dig into the details of that matchup on Tuesday night, as it's going to be St. Aug taking on Carr, which will be a fantastic matchup. But to your point, look, Cuvion at quarterback, Miguel Whitley at receiver. Whitley is, I've already said this, I think he's one of the top 3 receivers in the state, regardless of classification. He's a junior for this squad. You also have DeQuan Williams, who is also in that conversation for elite receiving. The passing attack is one thing, and then you have a stable of running backs. Keith Hill only ran for 153 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Like, this offense is going to be one of the toughest to stop in the entire state. Their defense is no slouch either, but they're going to have a task ahead of them next week, although I think it's going to be it's not the end of the road for either team, regardless. This isn't college football, or I should say classic college football, where you lose a game and you're out. It's just kind of an appetizer, if you will, because I got a feeling these teams are probably going to see each other again in the playoffs moving forward.
Warren Easton scored 64 points last week, I believe, on Slidell.
Slidell, yep.
Slidell holds Vanderbilt to 14 points this week. And Vanderbilt's a pretty good football team. I mean, Vanderbilt hasn't been bad in forever, and so I think that speaks volumes to just the strength of the Catholic League and just how incredible these defenses are. And then turn around and Aug holds them to 22 points, and then Aug puts up 47. And so I truly think that Coach Robert Valdez is the perfect hire for St. Aug. I was so impressed with them last year. Me and Jason had them against Holy Cross. They were just, they looked great for a first-year coach, the way they ran their offense, the tempo, the personnel groupings. Like, man, they brought a lot to the table. And it was a great football game. Holy Cross had a great plan. It came down to the last play, but I saw it last year, and I'm not surprised at all that St. Aug is really good this year for a lot of the reasons that Jason mentioned too. He brought back a quarterback, Whitley at receiver, plus a plethora of talent around him too. So, yeah, that's my, team behind Carr, I would say right now.
1A, 1B.
Yeah. Their offense is so explosive. It's so – I think they put up 680 yards last week, and then they go put up 47 points this week. Athletes everywhere, and Coach Valdez and his staff have done a tremendous job. We can stay in the Catholic League, and we had a Brother Martin Jesuit, another traditional rivalry in that league. Brother Martin wins 31-29 on a game-winning field goal by Maximo Barrios with 2 seconds left. Hudson Fields leads a drive late to give Brother Martin the lead with a 6-yard touchdown pass to Roy Lipscomb. By the way, Easton Royal scored on the first play of the game. 60-yard touchdown pass. He had 2 touchdowns, 168 yards receiving. That's just another Friday night for Easton Royal. But this Jesuit, I think, maybe fared a little bit better than what I would thought, to be very honest. I thought Brother Martin, their offensive firepower, the way they've been playing, but Coach Ryan McNally's got this Jesuit program. They're going to be coached well, and they're going to have some playmakers. But they were down. Their starting quarterback was hurt. They played their second-string guy. After 2 or 3 interceptions, they were actually on their third-string quarterback late in the game, trying to find a spark. So that's impressive showing by Jesuit to do that and really have a chance to win the game, playing the third-string quarterback against Brother Martin.
Yeah, I had to text Coach Bonice after the game and first congratulate him, but then let him know that Maximo Barrios had probably the best Friday night football interview I've ever seen. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it was just the perfect. Oh, it was the perfect kicker interview where, he was just you can tell he's got the right personality, where he wasn't nervous. He wasn't taking it too serious. For him, it was just going out there, taking advantage of the opportunity. He thanked all his teammates around him, and then had him like in the student section signing T-shirts and stuff. It was great. I thought it was a great little interview. So it was really cool to see that. But you mentioned, Rowan Lipscomb. I feel like he's a kid that is a really good player that has been a little quiet. I don't even know if he's been quiet or it's just more of Easton Royal just overshadowed him a little bit. But Rowan Lipscomb's a kid I know well from training with us in the offseason, and he's a younger brother of Kalijah Lipscomb as well as Kobe Young. And so, I think catching passes and running routes kind of run to the family for those guys.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. Speaking of, hold on, Jason, Lance said something, and I saw Coach Bonise talk about it, but Maximo Barrios, he also punts. And I think the last punt of the night for him, he shanked it. It went like 10 yards. It wasn't a good punt at all. Set up Jesuit to go score. And on the way off the field, Coach Bonise told him, like in so many words, hey, forget about it. You're going to kick the game-winning field goal. And it ends up happening. So that's good to see.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, to your point about Jesuit, like they find a way. And sometimes it doesn't make sense when you look at personnel. You're like, do they really match up well? Look, they're really well coached. When you look at personnel-wise, it might not always seem like they match up, but when you're a well-coached team and you're in the right position in the right spot, sometimes that's what matters. And being able to go 3 deep at quarterback is impressive. Jair Burks also had some plays in this game, wide receiver for Jesuit. Again, track superstar, ranks like 16th in the country at 110 meter hurdles. Really fast player. But the other side of the ball, you got Easton Royal, who ran a 4.38 30, a 40-yard dash. So, a lot of speed on that field. And Brother Martin just finding a way to get it done. That seems like that's what they've done all year. East Ascension was a really tight game. They had to come back in that football game on the road, had to make a stop in the red zone to win that game. And this time the offense coming up late with a play. I think this is going to be a team in the Catholic League that could maybe turn a few heads, maybe surprise a few people. And I want to clarify, whenever I make a comment like that in the Catholic League, it's purely because everybody looks and they go, Carr, right? At this moment, it's Carr and then everybody else. But I think that gray area is those in between teams, and I think Brother Martin could find himself near the top if they continue playing at this elite of a level.
Yeah, you said in the district. I think anytime we talk about in state, I think Carr is in, like it just needs to be understood that they're in a separate category.
You want to talk about that game while we're at it? I mean, let's go ahead and talk about that one while we're here. Lance.
Y'all were there. Y'all saw it.
Yeah, Lance, am I wrong here? And I don't like using hyperbole. I don't like speaking in exaggeration. Holy Cross scored 3 points early in the game. Those were the first points scored by a team in Louisiana. They've only given up 20 points all year. They average giving up 1 point a game to teams from Louisiana, and they are extraordinary. I think we can talk about all the weapons offensively, and it's true. They Trey Garrison in the backfield. They've got about 6 receivers deep, and one of them is still waiting to be cleared eligible by the LHSAA. You got Johnson at quarterback, but really, I mean, is there any doubt, Lance, who the best player on the field was? Richard Anderson up front defensively. Cass, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. He is the best football player in the state, and I don't really think there's a comparison. There's a short list of guys who you can argue are in that conversation, but Richard Anderson is the Ndamukong Suh of Louisiana football right now. He can absolutely wreck your offense single-handedly up front. He is a physical specimen, and he is going to be an incredible player at any level, at LSU and when he goes to the pros. I'm telling you, he's that type of player.
Just quickly on that topic of that young man, Anthony Richards. Am I saying right? Yeah. And so Albert Huggins is the defensive line coach for Holy Cross. He's played in the NFL. He's an NFL D tackle, right? Obviously an enormous man. He calls me after the game and says, Lance, that dude was literally my size. Like, it was like me playing against high school kids, And so, it was disgusting. And so, yeah, I thought I saw a call a couple of times last year. They were great. Nothing, not take anything away from that team last year. I think they're better this year. It's just like they are good. I mean, they are more than good. They are great at just about literally every position. Like there's just not a weakness. You can talk about how you would stop, the kid Anthony Richards with, maybe double him, maybe trap him. This type. You could say that. The problem
Don't
is
block him and read him. That's what don't block him and read him.
No, they tried to do that. He tackled both of them, and there's so many other guys.
So Richard Anderson is listed at 6'4", 320. There's no way. Like, right? Am I wrong here?
Albert said the same thing. Albert was like, he's big.
There's no way Richard Anderson is 6'4", 320. I mean, he takes up B gap to B gap, Cass. Yeah. I mean, he's massive.
From the press box at tag only, he looked huge. And so, but my point was just, you double him, and then you have a one-on-one matchup with another stud on the edge and another stud on the other edge. The kid Romeo, what was Romeo's last name?
Romeo Brown,
number 15. He's probably their 6th or 7th best defensive player. He's 6'4", 230.
He would be anybody else's number. He'd be anybody else's number 1, right? And that's the thing for this team, though. Like you're like, oh man, this is a really good player, Lance. There's not a single non-Division I FBS signee in their secondary. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And then beyond all that, the O-line is really big and long. They were great. And then the biggest issue is like the kid, John Johnson. Uh-huh. Even when you are in great position and you got everything drawn up correctly, he pulls it down and beats you with his legs in a way that you can't coach it. It's just the unscripted stuff that makes it even that much worse when he takes it down and makes plays. So, yeah, I mean, it was just beyond impressive.
Yeah, it's one thing when they have athletes in space that are just better than you, but when they have the guys up front that just can physically dominate whoever, then that makes it almost impossible.
Yeah,
I mean, it's impossible. Holy Cross, the first Louisiana team to score 3 points. Who's going to score 10 points against? I don't know. Maybe somebody will, but we'll
find out this week. This will be the week if possible.
That's where I was going to. That's going to be fun to watch, and it's good. And I think we're not going to find out much about Carr. I think we know. We will find out much about Sadon, and are they ready? And they don't have to go win the game, but if it looks competitive, then I think saying they're going to be for real. One other we could go to a few others here, Jason. Let's go Mandeville Slidell. This one was competitive. Two teams that forever were district rivals. They're no longer in the same district. Slidell wins 28-14. This Slidell team, I think we need to keep an eye on, because they struggled last year. In week 1 they beat Lutcher. They give up 64-1 Easton last week, which I understand that's not good. But to beat Mandeville, look, Mandeville's playing with a freshman quarterback, Crew Calera. Their starting quarterback got hurt. I believe it was in the jamboree, in the first quarter of the jamboree, and he's out for at least the next 4 weeks. So they have this freshman Calera. He's going to be really good. He's making his 3rd start, and he's going to get better every time out. But for Slidell to come out and do that to a Mandeville team that, Lance, you said it earlier, it seems like they're never bad. They're always, good, competitive, well-coached team. Slidell team's got my attention. I think they're going to be one to watch.
I saw the highlights. I saw Slidell had a tight end and a wide receiver that popped off the screen.
Yeah. Big old tight end. Tight end and Fleming is the receiver. Both are phenomenal.
Yeah. Really good look on film. So the quarterback looks pretty good as well. So yeah, I agree with you. They seem like a pretty well-rounded, well-balanced football team, offense and defense.
And I think a lot of those guys played last year as sophomores or juniors, and they kind of took their lumps, and I think they kind of got everyone back, and they were kind of pointing to this year as being their year.
Well, kind of a similar feel to St. Charles. They only won 4 games a year ago, coming out 4-0. They beat De La Salle this week. I got to call that game, but sticking on to Slidell, I got to watch their game week 1 against Lutcher, and I remember telling you guys, I watched the game. The score was close. The game didn't feel particularly close. Like Slidell had a pair of touchdowns get called off the board. Ricky Williams Jr., the quarterback, for 250 this game. Running back Jaquan Jones ran for 150. Their offense is full of guys that can just flat out play football. And their defense, look, Warren Easton has a really explosive offense. They gave up a lot of points in that game, but to turn around and only give up 14 to Mandeville, although Mandeville does not have the same type of style, I think it's fair enough to say, as Warren Easton, but to hold them to 14 points, regardless of, look, Kalua at quarterback, he's a freshman, but he's a playmaker. Like, he's going to be a guy coming up in a few years. Yep. So for them to hold that offense is a really impressive effort. This Slidell team is on sleeper watch. If you're on your schedule and you've kind of been, they only had 2 wins last year, and you're kind of expecting to sleepwalk past them, this is a team that's going to come up and bite you. I'm really impressed with the job that Coach Damian Page has done in his second year with this program, and to turn around from 2 wins to getting 3 wins in the first 4 weeks, really impressive effort.
And looking at their schedule, they have Chalmette in week 9, and that may be both for the district championship and seeding in the playoffs. That could be a really big game there later on in the season between Slidell and Chalmette. This is now the second year that district was split, and now Chalmette jumps in, so that'll be something to look forward to. Down on the Bayou, another 3-0 teams going at it, Hahnville and Terrebonne. Terrebonne wins 52-38. Jason, I know you had your eye on this Terrebonne team. You've been preaching the gospel of the Terrebonne Tigers, and they're making you look good.
Look, this reminds me back in the day. I used to call. I'm not gonna remember the radio station name. They might want to throw something at me when they hear me forget. But I used to call games out in the Bayou, and that was the year that Terrebonne had a really fantastic football team. I think they were like 7-0 going into Destrehan. This team is probably better than that football team. Quincy Adams is an absolute animal in the backfield. To my knowledge, this young man doesn't have any offers. Why? I have no idea. Went for 300 yards again this week. It's just like a regular day at the ballpark for him. Like, let me just go run for 290 and catch for another 35 with 4 touchdowns. I mean, he is incredible. But you have to give credit where credit's due. That offensive line is scary good. Really big, really physical, can move, blocks really well. I think this Terrebonne team, it could pose a threat to Destrehan. I think that game is actually coming up this week too. So that'll be we're talking about in relation to how St. Aug plays Carr, how Terrebonne plays Destrehan is going to be a real good indicator of how good this team can be.
Every year there's that one somewhat random team that gets on my radar early, and this for me, Terrebonne's the one. Week 1, Coach Lashney at Riverside told me, man, that Terrebonne team, they're good, and I'm like, okay, yeah, and then I watch them on Friday Night Football a couple times, like, man, that is a good looking. They got some good looking kids I'm seeing on this film, and then all of a sudden now they go beat Hahnville, and that was the one for me. That's like, all right, this Terrebonne team's really good. I want to know more about this Terrebonne team, and so what is that? Is that a district game? Are they in Hahnville's district right now? Okay,
yes.
So they're Division One non-select.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, everything you said there, it looks like a really physical running back with Quincy Adams. That, man, he looks good on film, and then there's a bunch of big bodies up front blocking for him.
And hats off to the job head coach Tyler Lewis has done. 4th-year guy. I know he kind of comes from St. James area. Really done an impressive job with that program, and I want to double check that they do play. Yeah, they play Destrehan next week.
They do.
That'll be a fun.
Well, and they beat Destrehan last year. Mm-hmm. They beat. I'm looking at their schedule from last year. So that in the 2-week stretch, they beat Destrehan 30-21. The next week, they go and lose to St. Charles, and that was one of St. Charles. St. Charles won 3 or 4 games last year. Like if they can find consistency, then this program's got a chance to be pretty good.
I believe Jackson Fields was injured last year.
He was. It was. I think that was the first game that he was out.
Difference, yeah. So,
or he got hurt in that game. It was one of the two. But we'll
find out. Somebody going this week. That's definitely a big one. We'll talk about more Tuesday.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I really like Jackson Fields. I know we've spoken highly about him. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Great football player.
Excellent. Yeah, really good, really good. East Ascension, Denham Springs. East Ascension wins 26-17. to 20. East Ascension, they're 3-1. Coach Brock Mathern's got the Spartans 3-1. Their only loss I believe, was in week 1. Tight game to Brother Martin.
Yep.
Zayden Smith, their quarterback, threw for 141, rushed for 65, and had 3 total touchdowns. This was their district opener against a good Denham Springs football team. East Ascension wins 26-1.
Yeah, I think these are two teams that we've spoken very highly of already a few times. I know Jason's been high on this East Ascension team for a lot of good reasons. Their talent plus their coaching staff, Brock Mathern, Chapon Shea, they got a great group out there. And then same on the flip side, the Denham Springs team, like I've mentioned, has 42 seniors. If you have 42 seniors, you are a good – there's no way to not be a good football team, I feel like. And so this seems like it was a war that it seemed like two older physical teams, and it's got to be a great win for East Ascension.
Yeah, I read that Coach Mathern called it, a complete win on all 3 phases. They recovered a kickoff, fumble to steal possession in that game. I think when we look at this game, it's easy to not realize in the moment that these are 2 teams that could make a run. I really feel like East Ascension has been every week just continuing to build up their stamina, if you will. Every game has been a grind that they've been in so far. Their only loss has been to Brother Martin week 1, as we mentioned. And Denham Springs is a really good football team. Mm-hmm. Denham Springs is a team that I think is going to make some noise in their own district. I think that this is a game we're going to come back to, and we might be saying, remember when we in the playoffs, remember when these 2 teams squared up in week 4, let's rack it up and see how it comes out in this way. But I love watching any type of clips or games with Coach Brock Mathern on the sideline, man. Talk about a guy with a ton of energy, just really passionate about what he does. In his second year, he's already surpassed his win total from year 1. And make no mistake, this team has never won a state title. To my knowledge, East Ascension has never won a state title, and he is doing his darnest to make sure that his program is where it needs to be to build up to that. And I'm really impressed with what he's come out and done with this team.
Yeah, and this district, man, this district is it's sneaky good. Mm-hmm. Sneaky good. You got Denham Springs, East Ascension, Live Oak, St. Amant, and Dutchtown, and then Walker. Like that's going to be a fun district to follow. And I feel like all of those schools in that area, Prairieville is also in it, but all of those schools in that area, there's a lot of pride in their communities, in their schools. They're fun environments to go into, and I don't think they particularly like each other a whole lot. So that'll be it's kind of a fun district.
Yeah, nice stadiums, nice facilities. That's what I think of when I think of those schools. Really good little atmospheres.
Yeah, no, that's a big time Friday night football going down over there. Anywhere else? Any other games?
Lance, you want to touch on the game you got to watch a little bit? Willow.
That's
and
right. Newman.
Like for a minute.
So Newman, Coach Weiss got his first win as Newman Greeny head coach. Jake Randall at quarterback is starting to look like a quarterback. That was the huge takeaway from the game. They had a bye week last week, and you could tell they put some extra time into really just figuring out their identity as an offense. New head coach, new quarterback that's never played quarterback. They got a lot of good weapons on the perimeter, so it's really just about Coach Weiss and those guys figuring out how we're going to use these pieces without a traditional quarterback. Jake Randall looked incredible running the ball. He also started looking really good throwing the football. So if he can throw it, the way he did the other night, it's going to be great for him. It was exciting to see that team get off to a great start. Their defense also played really, really well. Willow came in with a really well-known passing attack, and they shut it down. They forced a ton of turnovers. I think it was 5 interceptions that Newman created. So it was a really good first win for Coach Weiss.
In my matchup, I got to watch St. Charles take on De La Salle. De La Salle 0-4 on the year, but again, I do feel like to the tail end of that game, De La Salle was truly finding itself offensively and finding its identity and kind of solidifying themselves. Guys, there's not many teams that have played a tougher first 3-game stretch or first 4-game stretch than De La Salle. They played St. Charles, they played St. Paul's, they played Central, and I'm missing one. Who was it?
Holy Cross.
Holy Cross. Those are 4 really tough games to play back to back to back. Both teams offensively wanted to grind the ball out and run the football. St. Charles just took advantage of it early on. They forced 2 turnovers against it. Well, they forced 1 turnover, and after St. Charles went up early, De La Salle breaks a big run. You think they're going to get some momentum, and they have a read option, and it's mesh points off, and they fumble the football. And against St. Charles on the road, you just can't do that. But Landry LeBlanc, really solid job. Creed Marix and Brooks Monica at linebacker really impressed me. We've already talked about these guys a bunch on the show, linebackers for St. Charles Catholic. De La Salle wanted to run the ball inside, and those guys weren't going to let it happen. So they made a ton of plays. Skylar Edwards broke a few runs, but Landry LeBlanc, quarterback, making the moves he needs to. This is a St. Charles team that looks like a really complete team right now, and they get to play Terrebonne in a few weeks too. They get to play St. James this week and Terrebonne the following week. So another big 2-week stretch for St. Charles.
Yeah, that'll be St. Charles kind of went through their growing pains last year, and it seems like it's all kind of paying off on their end this year. We hit that might have been the most games that we talked about. That was awesome.
We did. Wait, one more team I want to toss out.
Go ahead.
I got at the bottom. Look, Generette is a team that I haven't heard a ton of people talking about. I've kind of just started seeing them pop up on people's radar. Kid on that team, Divine, is a freak. Athlete on the offensive side of the football. Lorville 1-3, but maybe not playing up to their potential at the moment, but they had a decently tough schedule. Generette, a team in Division 4 non-select. If you haven't heard about them or they're not on your radar, they should be. They're a really talented team. They have a chance to go undefeated this year. Really looking forward to watching them.
I was going to mention my Katrina alma mater, St. Mary's in Natchitoches, got a big win over Manny. That's a really big win for those guys. Coach Keegan Seastrunk, I saw his interview. He was super fired up. They won 32-28 over Manny. E.D. White, they felt like they were due for an easy win, right? They had a really tough schedule coming out the gate, so they got a big win, 56-0 over Ellender. I had one more I was going to point out. Riverside, they've been really tough all year so far. They won 41-0 over St. Thomas Aquinas. That felt like a pretty big win for them as well.
Yeah, and that's to be a team we'll talk about as we go down the stretch too. I think we talked about this. Their secondary is only freshmen and 8th graders. Their receivers are only sophomores and below. Their quarterback,
tough though.
Their quarterback, I want to say Brock Bourgeois is a senior, 4th-year starter, a 3rd-year starter. Their running back is a transfer from East Jeff. Really, he's an incredible back as well. This offense is really solid. I'm interested to see Riverside under Coach Lee Roussel, how they look moving forward too.
One more cast. Coach PJ Sprunk got his first win as the Haynes Academy head football coach. Always cheering.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Coach Sprunk, fan of the show. He's got to be a fan of the show.
I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of him. He built that Cancer Discovery program from nothing.
The Swamp Owls, baby. The Swamp Owls. And they got the greatest colors in the state.
Yep.
One of the best mascots. Hey, they're one of only 2 owl mascots in the state too. We already know who the other one is, right? So and
the high flying owls and the Swamp Owls.
There you go.
Over here on the North Shore, a score that I had to do a double take when I saw it. North Shore beat Covington 17-10.
Yeah.
That was Covington's first loss. It was North Shore's first win. That one jumped out. Yeah, that one kind of came out of nowhere. So we'll see how those 2 teams fare moving forward. But yeah, I did not expect to see that one at all.
Agreed.
And then the last one is Lakeshore beats North Lake Christian. I think this Lakeshore program and this Lakeshore team under Coach Indes, they're physical, they're tough, they're going to run it right at you. Their quarterback, Brody Loudermilk, seems like he was designed in a lab by Coach Indes to go run that offense, but he had 22 carries, 193 yards, 4 for 6 passing, and 73 yards. But that Lakeshore Titan team, man, is they got Franklinton here in a few weeks in a big district matchup. That's going to be a physical battle.
They played twice last year too, so there's a little bit of extra juice in that one. Franklinton beat them to move on and eventually play in the Dome, so that'll be a really good one to talk about.
Yep, no, that'll be good. All right, well that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers for the stream, though. And again, thanks everybody for watching and tuning in, man. Again, I had 2 people come up to me this past week and say, hey, we watched the show. And like, look, we're very appreciative, very honored to even you guys to be bothering watching us, just kind of just doing what we enjoy doing. And it's been a lot of fun working with you guys again, getting to build off of what we got to do on VSN, calling games together. And it's just been a lot of fun to be able to do.
Yeah, no doubt. We appreciate you all spending your Sunday night here with us, talking some high school football. We'll do it again Tuesday. Tuesday, we will look ahead to week 5. We'll look ahead to week 5 on Tuesday. I know we have some exciting matchups to come. So join us again there. You can watch on X Live. You can also follow and watch on our YouTube channel live, or you can watch live or on demand on BSN. For Lance Lacoste, Jason Dewey, I am Cass Hargis. This was Talking Ball, y'all. We appreciate you watching. We'll see y'all again on Tuesday night.